The skates fit you okay?
Yeah, I just haven't skated since I was a kid. Joe, did you rent out the entire rink for this?
For you, I'd do anything.
Do you even skate?
Shut up. Oh my God! Power failure! It's very scary in here.
Did you plan this?
No, this cold open was your idea.
I don't think this is gonna work.
What? Friends listen to Endless Love in the dark?
No, that part is fine. I mean solving your dating problems using movie tactics.
Back to the drawing board.
I still love you.
Welcome to Does This Still Work? The podcast looks at old movies and asks, does this still work? I'm Joe Dixon.
And I'm George Romacka. And today we're discussing Happy Gilmore from 1996, our first foray into the Adam Sandler filmography. And some historical context. First, podcasty stuff. You can reach us at dtswpod@gmail.com, on Facebook, Letterboxd, and on our YouTube channel. Please tell your friends about us and leave 5-star ratings everywhere. You can pick what we watch and get extra per episode content by funding us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/dtswpod. Now, Joe, take us back to 1996.
Since Happy Gilmore is just a broad comedy and newspapers are not, I'm going to avoid anything heavy and just talk about sports news from 1996. Except I don't know anything about any sports, including golf and hockey. So I had to Google what were the top sports stories of 1996. It turns out that year we had the Olympics. Read this headline from the New York Times, George.
Bomb at the Olympics. The overview. Olympics Park blast kills 1, hurts 111. Atlanta Games go on.
Oops, how'd that get in there?
Yeah, you said nothing heavy and serious, Joe. Terrorism?
I'll make it quick. The woman killed was Alice Hawthorne. She was a mother, businesswoman, and community activist.
That's sad.
Her killer was not Richard Jewell, the security guard who had discovered the pipe bombs and warned the FBI of what he had found just before the damn things went off. In case you're wondering, yes, the FBI was already there because it was the Olympics. This tragedy, already horrible of course, really made Jewell's life much, much worse, as the feds began to suspect Richard didn't find the bombs, but planted them. The press, for some reason, had a real feeding frenzy with this guy. Many media institutions would later be sued for slander when various news personalities straight up said he was the bomber. I won't name the man who would be proven to be the actual killer because I don't name scumbags whose only claim to fame is murder. However, I will say this prick was a white supremacist who bombed the Olympics because he was fighting global socialism and abortion on demand. Gee, if he had waited a few years, he could have been a Republican congressman.
This is a result of the stochastic terrorism that the right has been perpetuating for longer than any of us have been alive.
Indeed.
Stochastic terrorism, for those who don't know, is saying a bunch of incendiary shit to a broad enough audience where you can be certain that there's at least one wackadoo in that audience who will act on the incendiary shit that you told them.
At the very least, that's what you're hoping.
Yep.
But hey, here's some fun trivia. When Richard Jewell was a suspect, he got a team of lawyers to help him out and process his subsequent lawsuits. One of those lawyers was Lynn Wood. Do you recognize that name, listeners? Lynn Wood would go on to surrender his law license after he became one of Trump's many attorneys who sought to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Quoting Wikipedia, Wood is an American former attorney and conspiracy theorist who some allege to have participated in inciting the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol, and later made claims about the existence of widespread election fraud during the 2020 U.S. presidential election. He has previously faced legal sanctions for lawsuits made in furtherance of these claims in the state of Michigan. In July 2023, while facing investigation and possible disciplinary action by the State Bar of Georgia for violating the Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct, Wood surrendered his law license and asked to retire rather than face disbarment. End quote. Okay, back to 1996.
Yep.
Okay, at the Olympics, America won 101 medals, 44 gold, 32 silver, and 25 bronze. Do you remember any of the Olympics of that year?
I don't remember any of the Olympics of any year. I remember Tanya Harding's boyfriend kneecapping Nancy Kerrigan. That's what I remember about the Olympics.
Yeah, me too. I don't know what year that was either. Speaking of winning, this is brought to us by the Philadelphia Inquirer. Headline, George.
Is it just me, or does every Inquirer paper, like, bring up the National Enquirer in your mind? Like, they're all just weird, pseudo-rags?
That did not occur to me, actually.
Okay, it's just me then. U.S. beats Canada in World Cup.
Now, honestly, I don't know what the World Cup is. I had to look that up, and it sounds like an international game that's done infrequently. It was last played in 2016, and it may be back in 2025. But I do know Canada loves hockey, and Americans beat them, so that's impressive, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, well, I never heard of the World Cup. I do know the Stanley Cup. How'd that go in 1996? George, read the headline from the Ottawa Citizen.
Panthers unable to withstand avalanche.
Yes, the Colorado Avalanche defeated the Florida Panthers. In fact, Colorado won the series 4-0. George, did you know they play hockey in Florida? I looked it up, and they actually sell tickets and people buy them. How do you even learn to play a winter sport in a place that is permanently summer?
I went to high school in Florida, Tarpon Springs, Florida. Nearby is Clearwater, Florida. There's a mall, Clearwater Mall. Inside Clearwater Mall is an ice skating rink. You can build indoor ice skating rinks that can be open in the summer. That's how. I mean, we all know Jamaica had a bobsled team. You can do winter things in warm places.
I guess. Are they any good, though?
Apparently not. They got beat by Colorado.
Where it's cold, see? I'm telling you, it matters.
We have to do cool runnings one of these years.
We really do. Let's finish this off with a look at golf. All I know about golf is the Masters, so I looked up who won that. This is from the Cincinnati Post. Headline, George.
Faldo breaks drought.
I will quote, Augusta, Georgia. Nick Faldo played the part of the Shark Sunday when Greg Norman started bleeding during the final round of the Masters. Faldo moved in for the kill. Norman, known for his blowing majors, frittered away a 6-shot lead entering the final round and lost by an astonishing 5, firing a disastrous 78. Faldo picked up 10 shots in the last 15 holes, 5 during a 4-hole stretch, starting at number 9 to win the tournament title. I honestly and genuinely feel sorry for Greg, said Faldo, whose brilliant 5 under 67 was overshadowed by Norman's amazing collapse. End quote. I'm not sure what I just read, but that happened.
Yeah, me neither. That sounded like when I try and talk about my job to you. That's what you must feel like.
Well, that's all the sports we're covering. Okay, George, tell us about Happy Gilmore.
All right. This was directed by Dennis Dugan.
I saw him in That's My Boy, a comedy about child rape. He acted in that.
A comedy about child rape.
It was a 13-year-old boy, played by an actual 13-year-old boy, gets seduced by an adult teacher.
Oh.
And it's played for laughs. Now you just, it's a boy.
Okay, so it is the quintessential of that problematic cultural trope.
100%.
Okay, we should put it on the list.
You know, and it was really weird because, look, I'm one of those guys, I'll admit it. I love the idea, teacher hitting on me, that boy's really lucky. But when you actually see a child playing that role, being hit on by an adult, it's creepy. It's not a turtle at all. I need my teenage boys to look like 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds for me to enjoy that.
Yep.
I cannot believe they actually had a kid. They actually hired a child to play that role. I'm like, guys, this is not funny.
On one hand, yeah, horrible. But on the other hand, it could be a PSA.
Well, the thing is, the kid is slapping the hands and the hands up to all the other kids because he got laid. And then the results of the movie is he has to raise his child. And he doesn't know how to raise a kid because there's a resulting child from getting the woman pregnant.
Wow, they went whole hog on this.
It was the whole plot. It was the whole movie.
I'm kind of impressed that they followed it through to that as a that's kind of impressive.
But at no point is it considered. No one uses the word rape, sexual abuse. The kid is not in therapy. It's just you got this woman pregnant. Now you got to raise the kid, even though you're still a child yourself.
Yeah. Wow. Alrighty then. Well, he's also directed Problem Child, which I'm sure that child would grow up to be. Big Daddy, another movie involving a child.
There seems to be a theme here.
And You Don't Mess with the Zohan, which fortunately doesn't involve any children that I can remember. This was written by Tim Herlihy.
He was a producer on That's My Boy, the child rape comedy.
He also wrote Billy Madison, The Wedding Singer, The Water Boy, Big Daddy, Little Nicky, and Mr. Deeds. There is a lot of incestuous crossover in the acting, directing, and writing teams with a lot of Adam Sandler's work in this movie.
Yeah, he likes to work with his friends, apparently, which is cool.
It was also written by Adam Sandler, but we're going to save his shit for when we introduce his character. Blurbs. IMDb says, a rejected hockey player puts his skills to the golf course to save his grandmother's house. All right.
Sure.
Yeah. Amazon. HD. Adam Sandler is an ex-hockey player who brings a mighty slap shot and a penchant for brawling, profanity, and chaos to the pro golf tour. All right.
Sure.
Aside from introducing it with the resolution of the movie, which is just a waste of two characters.
Why do you suppose... This is, only Amazon does that, right? I don't think anyone else does.
I have no idea why Amazon does anything. Because it makes them money at some point. That's why.
Put HD into the...
It must. I mean, it's from 1996, so it shouldn't be in HD. So if it's been upscaled, maybe they're trying to sell you on that.
Yeah,
so you could see more, you could see the pores in Adam Sandler's face. One thing I can appreciate about any Adam Sandler movie is the soundtrack. This film opens with Lynyrd Skynyrd's Tuesday's Gone, over which our titular character Happy Gilmore narrates his childhood. His father was obsessed with hockey. Happy inherited that obsession even after it drove his mother away. Happy has always been great at shooting the puck, but his skating skills are non-existent. Ultimately, his father was killed by a stray puck at a hockey game, and he went to live with his grandma, and she takes very good care of him.
That was an interesting little setup. I don't know why they needed the... Well, I guess it was nice they didn't kill off the mother for once. She just leaves.
She leaves and moves to Egypt, 1,500 miles away from any skating rink, which I have to say is probably inaccurate. I've been to Dubai, which is within, I think, 1,500 miles of Egypt, where there was an ice skating rink inside of a mall.
Always in a mall. What's this whole business with ice skating rinks and malls? I don't get it.
Malls have a lot of infrastructure as far as building goes, so you can put a refrigeration unit under it to keep some of the floor ice cold. The death of his father left Adam Sandler with an anger problem for Jack Nicholson to fix in a different movie. This and his apparent compulsion to mimic penile thrusting using any vaguely phallic inanimate object make his professional life a series of low-paying, short-lasting jobs. While working construction, he shot a nail into his boss's head. Mr. Larson pummels him, which lands him in a hospital, where Happy ends this trip down memory lane, asserting that his singular purpose in life is to play hockey. Happy Gilmore is played by Adam Sandler.
I've seen in Uncut Gems, Top 5, Punch Drunk Love, Hustle, Funny People, Rain Over Me, and That's My Boy, the child rape comedy.
And I've seen him in Coneheads, Billy Madison, The Wedding Singer, The Water Boy, Big Daddy, Deuce Bigalow Male Gigolo, Little Nicky, Mr. Deeds, Anger Management, 51st States, Spanglish, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, and Hotel Transylvania. Between the two of us, we have seen a lot of Adam Sandler. We have not seen the same things.
I know, isn't that interesting?
It is weird.
Well, no overlap at all. That's funny.
Grandma is played by Frances Bay, who we saw in Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet, dun, dun, dun. I've also seen her in Twins and Foul Play.
We've both seen her in The Karate Kid, and I've seen her in Inspector Gadget and The Wedding Planner. And Mr. Larson is played by Richard Kiel,
whom I've seen in Skidoo, Cannonball Run 2, Moonraker, The Spy Who Loved Me, Silver Streak, and The Nutty Professor in 1963. And before you say yours, George, just want to point out, he played the same character in Moonraker that he did in The Spy Who Loved Me. These are both Bond movies, and he played a character called Jaws, who tries to eat people with his sharp, shining teeth. And Bond dispatches of him in Moonraker, but he was so popular, they brought him back for Spy Who Loved Me. And they're supposed to bring him back a third time, but for some reason, I guess they were changing Bond, and they decided not to revisit the character. But he's the only Bond villain that got to return.
That's kind of interesting. And I can't beat that, so I'll just say I saw him in Inspector Gadget. So we catch up to Happy as an adult during hockey tryouts. His shooting can't make up for his crappy skating, and he doesn't make the team. True to how he introduces himself, he flies off the handle and attacks the team owners.
You know, I know this is a comedy and it's supposed to be funny, him flying off there, but I would like somebody, you would think, go to him like, you need professional help. Because you were just getting in a fight with everybody all the time over everything. It's not healthy.
Again, he'll get that in Anger Management with Jack Nicholson.
I didn't see that movie.
Scribble, scribble. Happy comes home feeling blue, only to find his girlfriend in the hallway in the final part of leaving him. Through the intercom, she says he's a no-good loser with no prospects and a delusional belief in his hockey ability. His part of the conversation vacillates between severely toxic abuse and saccharine apology, ending with him singing Kiss You All Over by Exile. This earns him the attention of a middle-aged Asian lady who shows up at his door. Now, I've seen this film before, but it's been a long time, so when I yelled, "Take the W, Happy," he does indeed take that W, and I had to laugh.
No, it is funny.
Yeah, and in the morning he gets a phone call and rushes out with the lady in one of his hockey jerseys asking if he wants breakfast.
And that's the last we'll see of her.
Yeah, but it was a funny, like...
It was funny.
Because you don't expect it. Because normally characters in movies are, like, toxically masculine. It's like, yeah, no, I don't want... He's just like, I love the one I'm with. The phone call was from his grandmother, and he arrives to find that the IRS is taking her home and all her stuff because she hasn't paid her taxes in over a decade because she didn't have any money. Happy being broke too, there's nothing for it but to put Grandma in a nursing home.
With what money?
Good question, Joe. If he can't pull together $270,000 in 90 days, the house gets sold to someone else. Happy drops Grandma off at the Silver Acres rest home, and every time Joe talked about how his mother was being treated in the hospital, this is what I compared it to.
Oh, Jesus.
Unfavorably. The only apparent staff there is an orderly named Hal L., who, when the families of the inmates aren't looking, operates it as a sweatshop. And not a nice sweatshop either. He is mean.
Sir, could I trouble you for a glass of warm milk? It helps put me to sleep.
You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up. Now you will go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
Oh, dear.
Hal L., orderly in nursing home, is played by Ben Stiller, who we've seen for the show, we realized almost too late, in Heavyweights.
Playing a not a dissimilar character, really.
Nope.
I've also seen him in Starsky and Hutch, Bros, Submarine, Greenberg, Tropic Thunder, Meet the Fockers, and The Royal Tannenbaums.
And we've both seen him in Mystery Men and Meet the Parents. And I've seen him in Zoolander, Dodgeball, a true underdog story, Madagascar, Night at the Museum, and Megamind.
Before we move on, the Hal character, when you first see him and see his behavior, and then later on how he's behaving, how do you think it was going to end for him?
I think he gets away with it.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, well, people have seen this movie. This whole thing is a spoiler. I'm surprised he doesn't get his ass kicked. I thought for sure at the end of the movie, Happy was going to come back to that nursing home and beat the living shit out of him, or have the old ladies and old men beat him up. But nothing happens. I was shocked. I thought that was telegraphed from the very beginning when we see him, and it doesn't happen.
I wanted to see a follow-up movie where Francis Bay comes back and leads a rebellion.
Something.
Back at Grandma's house, movers are packing everything up while Happy is trying to watch a hockey game. Shenanigans result in a bet on who, the movers or Happy, can hit a golf ball further. Happy learns that he has what will be called the long drive, or a preternatural ability to whack golf balls, like, really far. Happy tries to leverage this at the local Waterbury Golf Club driving range into some money. The local golfers are impressed with his ability, if not his mannerisms. Happy's antics catch the eye of a golf instructor, Chubbs Peterson, who sees potential in the newcomer. And Chubbs Peterson is played by Carl Weathers,
whom I've seen in Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Friday Foster.
And we've both seen in Rocky, Rocky 2, and I've seen in Little Nicky. Happy goes to a batting cage to take balls to the body and head to toughen himself up for the next hockey season. Chubbs catches up with him and gives his own backstory.
Back in 1965, Sports Illustrated said I was going to be the next Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, what happened?
They wouldn't let me play on the Pro Tour anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because you're black?
Hell no. Damned alligator bit my hand off.
Oh, my God!
Yeah.
Did that joke not remind you of from the Blazing Saddles when he says, like, look at this hand? Yeah, straight as yeah, but I shoot with this hand and the hand is shaking.
Yep. Very much so.
It wasn't funny, but...
Yeah, no. It, like, hearkening back to classic comedy moments is kind of how you do comedy over, after a while. But I also like that it acknowledged that race is a thing and that race does cause problems. Like, I don't expect that out of most movies. But even just bringing up like that, because it is a reasonable assumption that in the 60s he might have been prevented from playing golf for being black.
Sure.
So at least it acknowledged that. Even if it decided to run with it in a completely different direction.
Well, also, he's weirdly, I guess, insulted by saying, hell no! Like,
hell no! Alligator, bit my damn hand off! And Happy's response to it, because it is a weird-looking... Happy accidentally destroys Chubb's prosthetic hand and comes around to the idea of playing golf when Chubbs mentions that winners make lots of money. I don't know why Happy needed to be told that. Winners in sports tend to make money.
Yeah, I mean, while he's not a fan of golf, you would think he wouldn't know that much.
Yeah. Happy shows up to the Waterbury Open and Chubbs gives a mini rundown on some of the characters. There's Doug Thompson, the tour president, and the leading player, Shooter McGavin. We, the audience, are also introduced to the director of public relations for the tour, Virginia Vennett, with a very, DC Comics name, and know that Shooter will be the bad guy not only because he just has that kind of face, but because he sends Virginia, the director of public relations, to get him a Diet Pepsi. Doug Thompson is played by Dennis Dugan, and we covered his credits as the director earlier, involving that child rape comedy.
Yes.
Shooter McGavin is played by Christopher McDonald.
And we've seen for the show in Thelma and Louise, Flubber, and The Man Who Wasn't There. And I've seen him in the Hacks TV show, plus I've seen him in the movie Nurse Betty and Quiz Show. And we both seen him in Iron Giant. Well, actually, I guess we heard him in the Iron Giant. We didn't actually see him, since it's a cartoon.
And I've seen him in Fatal Instinct, The Skulls, The Perfect Storm, and Requiem for a Dream. And Virginia Vennett is played by Julie Bowden,
who I've seen in Horrible Bosses.
And I've seen in Multiplicity. Happy is now in the game. He's assigned a caddy, who he tackles because he doesn't know what a caddy is. A lot of the humor here is the fish out of water trope.
Do you notice about golf that the caddy splits the winnings with the winner? I didn't realize they had that sort of relationship. This is a partnership. It's not just him carrying his bags. He's invested in you winning that game.
That might explain something I bring up later.
Oh, okay.
Happy could be a great hockey player if he could skate. Happy could be a great golfer if he could putt. He ends up punching out an observer. The movie should have ended there with Happy going to prison, but it doesn't.
Because it's a comedy, an Adam Sandler comedy, so of course it doesn't.
He manages to get a hole-in-one and comes to this brilliant, if obvious, conclusion.
That was so much easier than putting. I should just try to get the ball in one shot every time.
Good plan.
It is a good plan.
It is. Virginia realizes the PR potential of Happy's long drives to Shooter's annoyance. Happy's on his last putt, and if he got it in 4 or less, then he'd win the tournament. Despite coaching and encouragement from Chubbs, it takes him exactly 4 shots, and he tackles the caddy out of happiness. Virginia finds him afterwards and assures him that while winning doesn't get him money, if he wins the next tour stop in Portland, it would cover most of what his grandma owes in back taxes. Also, this is the meet cute and involves him telling her that he once tried to kill someone with an ice skate. This will not stop this relationship from eventually happening.
I mean, look, this is not supposed to be realism, because otherwise there's no way she would wind up with this dude.
Nope. This isn't the last time that'll come up. At the rest home, Hal is cracking the whip on the workers when Happy shows up to visit his grandma. Hal gives threatening gestures behind Happy's back to keep Grandma quiet. Happy's there to tell her about his win and how he's trying real hard to get her house back.
Look, I think Ben Stiller can be a very funny performer, but I didn't find anything he was doing there hilarious at all. I just found him annoying.
Well, Joe, we did go through your mother in one of these kinds of places, so...
You think that's what it is? I'm bringing my...
It's a little close to the chest. I mean, I feel it too. I really didn't like that character.
But you really want him to come up it, and he doesn't get it. That's very frustrating.
Dab him in the eye with a crochet hook. Back at the golf club, we get a glimpse of how unpopular Shooter is even among his peers. He's never won a tournament and has one joke about David Hasselhoff on Baywatch that his fellow golfers are getting tired of. While they don't like Shooter, they also don't like Happy, and don't intervene when Shooter invites Happy out to the 9th hole green at 9 p.m. for a secret of the professionals. An honest answer to what happens at the 9th green at 9 p.m. would have been, the automated sprinklers come on. Happy ends up soaked and heads back towards the clubhouse to ostensibly murder Shooter McGavin. Lucky for Shooter, Happy encounters Virginia and she talks him down. He also attempts to woo her.
Hey, my girlfriend's dead, you know. She fell off a cliff and died on impact.
Really? I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
You can hear mirth in her voice and see it on her face, and even though he said that as a weird offhanded I'm walking away but also thing, her reaction was just as weird as him saying it in the first place.
This is just another film where the main character needs psychiatric help and nobody's giving it to him.
She needs it too.
Yeah, maybe so.
Like, out of nowhere, he says this. Like, my assumption is, wow, he's really traumatized and he's opening up to me. I'm not gonna laugh at that. She laughs at that.
Well, the way he pitched it, it doesn't sound like he's that serious. She felt him fell on impact. I mean, it doesn't sound like he's serious. Because why would you just say that to somebody? I don't know. I can understand you would just laugh nervously because, like, are you nuts? What is the matter with you?
I think she needed more nervous in the laugh.
Okay. The thing about the whole Gavin prank thing on him, which is, as pranks go, is pretty mild. But it's amazing he couldn't figure it out. He's like, here I'm standing here. No one else is here. I wonder if I'm being pranked. I mean, he's been in sports. This cannot be the first time someone's pulled that sort of stunt on him.
They don't have sprinklers in hockey rinks.
Not sprinklers, but some sort of, hey, come to this thing, ha ha ha.
So, can you imagine him falling for that in a hockey rink where it's like, stand here at this spot at this time, then he gets run over and killed by a Zamboni? Could he be that stupid?
Well, yes, but that's only because the script would say so.
Yep. The first actual tour stop for Happy is the AT&T Open Invitational. Here, they don't provide caddies, so he hires an unhoused guy, Otto, that was washing windows in the parking lot. And I actually really like the way, he's like, he was just trying to wash, make a buck. Like, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, I like wave away guys doing that in the city, but it's because I don't carry cash on me. So I can't really pay. I can't, like, I'd hand them a buck if I had a buck and let them do it. But I don't have money, so I don't want them to do it and not get compensated for it.
I am curious if that's really Adam Sandler's position or not, because, he doesn't make that big a deal out of it, but he is a Republican. So I don't know if he really wants the poors coming up and touching his precious car, but maybe he is. Maybe he's one of the...
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's unfortunate.
He like I said, he doesn't make a big deal out of it, but yeah.
I mean, he's a Republican in California.
Yeah.
So, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger is a Republican.
Yes, he is, yeah.
And I'd say he's one of the more reasonable Republicans.
Yeah, he's definitely a Republican, well, besides the fact that it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's one of the Republicans you wouldn't want to punch in the face, regardless that it's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right. Like, he's actually good on a lot of issues. And not for nothing. Like, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is the new John McCain. Like, the last vestige of sanity within the Republican Party.
And that's why he'll never be elected to any office ever again.
Well,
by a Republican.
He'll certainly not be elected to president because it wasn't born in the United States.
Yeah, well, that was always going to be the case.
Otto is played by Alan Covert, who we saw for the show with Ben Stiller in Heavyweights. And I've seen in The Wedding Singer, The Waterboy, Big Daddy, Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, Little Nicky, Mr. Deeds, Anger Management, 51st Dates, and Hotel Transylvania.
So you're the one who saw Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo. I wonder who went to that movie.
Once. I don't remember much about it. Happy swings and a misses on his first drive and goes into a bleep-filled tirade, shocking the delicate sensibilities of the assembled. When he manages to putt the ball in one try, he celebrates like a footballer getting a touchdown. Doug, the tour president, is not amused. We also see Shooter fire a caddy for giving him a bad suggestion, as if the caddy should be doing his thinking for him, and that's what I think kind of makes a little more sense now.
Yeah, they're in a partnership.
Yeah, if that's a partnership and he's supposed to be part of that and giving good advice, then all right. I would, think that Shooter should know what fucking club to use. But what do I know? I don't play golf. On the last hole, Happy runs into his putting problems again. Another golfer tries to give him some advice. That advice doesn't work for Happy. First, he gets mad at the ball.
Son of a bitch, Paul. Why didn't you just go home? That's your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Suck my white ass, Ball!
Okay, minus the suck my white ass part, I have appropriated that kind of comedy or that joke for a lot of times where something didn't go where I wanted it to go. I would just start yelling at it like, that's your home. Don't you want to go home?
Oh my God, I think I've heard you say that.
Yeah, you probably have.
Until this moment, I didn't realize.
And this is where it came from.
Why'd you drop the white ass? What's too good to say talk about your white ass?
I didn't remember that was part of it, or I probably wouldn't have used it as much. Then Happy assaults the golfer that gave him advice, and again doesn't go to prison.
Or get sued or anything.
Nothing. His antics do draw the ire of Doug, who wants him off the tour.
Which, not unreasonably, to be honest.
Yeah. But Virginia intercedes, saying that he is bringing a younger, more energetic crowd, and says she will work with Happy to make him more palatable. Happy ends up in dead last place. While that does come with winnings of some kind, for some reason, it's nowhere near what he was hoping for. What's more, he won't even get it for a week because they get mailed out as checks. Paper checks. Remember those? From here on out, he'll get one of those big cardboard checks for whatever amount he wins for whatever place he takes. At the bar, Shooter buys Happy a drink, and then they get into an argument. Happy breaks his beer bottle and is about to not go to jail again when Virginia appears and pulls him away.
All his behavior is such first of all, what woman would be attracted to this? This has nothing to do with his looks. He's insane. His personality is so violent. He'd be terrified. Would be like, is he gonna hit me if he gets upset? I'd be scared of this guy. And then he takes a glass. He's at the bar. Everyone can see this. He breaks a glass and is about to cut his colleague. I mean, what the fuck?
Outside, Virginia tells him that he has to calm down because he's off the tour if he doesn't. She's the romantic lead and also correct, so he says he'll work on it. Then he asks her out.
What are you doing now? You want to get some food?
Oh, no, thanks. I don't date golfers.
Oh, good, because I'm a hockey player.
Just behave, okay?
No, Happy, you're not. And you'll be told that again later. At the next tour stop in Florida, Mr. Larson, Happy's old boss, shows up to support him, saying that he's actually proud of him. I love that. I don't know why I love that. But he does. He's just like, I'm really proud of you, Happy. Nails still sticking out of his head.
The man ain't thinking right. He's got brain damage.
But even after it's out, he still supports him. Because it does come out next week. Shooter finds Larson intimidating, which is exactly what Larson wants Shooter to find him as. As the game goes on, we see Happy trying very hard to behave. He stops himself from throwing his clubs, and he doesn't go into profane tirades, that sort of stuff. You know, clearing the very low bar of basic decent behavior. Nothing in this movie can be normal, so Happy accidentally whacks a ball into a waterhole, in which resides an alligator who swallows the ball. It's none other than the gator Chubbs lost his hand to, and Happy wrestles it to death. And ends with an elbow drop.
Yes. Well, hey, where is this set again? I don't even...
This is Florida.
This is Florida. Well, so he probably grew up wrestling alligators. Didn't you do that? Isn't that part of the education system in Florida, wrestling alligators?
Yes, Joe. Yes, we all wrestled alligators in gym class. It's how we got our exercise. That's why you see so many people in mobility scooters at Walmart in Florida. Shooter tries to convince Doug to kick Happy off the tour, but since Happy is behaving and bringing in crowds and therefore bringing in money, he can't. Shooter says he'll handle it himself. Happy calls his grandmother to update her on how the movie is going. Then he asks Virginia on a date, and she says she'll only go as friends. Then, at a skating rink, Virginia shows us that no boundary she has or ever will set with anyone means anything to her or anyone else. By the end of the scene, Virginia and Happy are a couple.
Sure, why not?
It is funny, though. What? Friends listen to Endless Love in the Dark? The funniest thing is the Zamboni driver mouthing the words to Endless Love. The next leg of the tour is a celebrity invitational. Happy gets paired with Bob Barker, and at first, things look great. There is a problem, though. A jeering fan, not of Happy's, shows up to heckle and taunt him at exactly all the wrong moments, mostly using the word jackass.
I love the way he says it. I just couldn't stop laughing at the jackass, jackass,
Jackass!
jackass.
That's another thing that I've actually stolen from this movie. And I yell at people in traffic. This throws Happy off his game, and Bob is surprisingly competitive. Bob Barker is played by Bob Barker. And we both seen him in The Price is Right, which he was in for how many episodes, Joe?
6,719 episodes.
That's a lot of episodes.
That's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of game show.
Jeering Fan is played by Joe Flaherty,
whom we've seen for this podcast in Stripes. And I've seen him in 1941, and I was a fan of his on the TV show SCTV.
And I've seen him in Who's Harry Crumb, which I've only ever heard my dad refer to as Who's Harry Crumb and Why Is Everyone Trying to Kill Him? But I never see that part as like a subtitle or anything. I've also seen him in Back to the Future 2 and that masterpiece of cinema, Freddy Got Fingered. Between the jeering fans taunting and Bob's complaining, Happy reaches the end of his ability to control himself and punches Bob Barker. Bob Barker spent all those years holding that tiny microphone, and it paid off in an ability to pummel an overconfident, angry poser.
In real life, I don't know if you saw this trivia bit, but apparently Bob Barker took a lot of martial arts classes and is actually in very good shape.
He looked it.
Yeah.
He's dead now, right?
No. He's almost 100.
Holy shit. Go Bob Barker.
Game show hosts live a surprisingly long time and no one knows why.
Huh. I love that I know that now.
George here in the editing room. Between when we recorded this and when I got around to editing it, Bob Barker died. So, rest in peace, Bob.
Punching Bob Barker on national TV earns Happy a suspension from the tour, jeopardizing his chances of saving his grandmother's home. While in the office with Doug and Shooter, he lets slip that them's the stakes of the movie, giving Shooter an idea.
I mean, look, the movie isn't supposed to make sense, but there's no way Shooter would be in the office while this is happening. If someone's being reprimanded, you don't need to be there. You're not one of the judges. You have no say in who gets on the tour, who isn't. Get out of here.
A lot of things in this happen for the convenience of, filming a movie.
Yes.
I'll mention that again later. To raise money in the meantime, Happy starts doing ads for Subway without molesting any children.
Wait, we don't know that.
And he did do that child rape comedy.
Yes.
Which allows him to make up the rest of the back tax money in time without even needing to call in the Blues Brothers.
Oh, good reference.
Things turn for the worse when he goes to pay the IRS. It turns out that the taxes were a minimum because the house was going up for auction. The winner is Shooter, who offers the house if Happy quits the tour. Virginia is like, you're a golfer, not a hockey player. Also, we're only an hour into the film and we need at least 90 minutes, so you can't accept that offer.
Hey, Shooter.
No.
Tour championships next week, right?
That's right.
If I beat you, I get the house back. You beat me, I'll quit.
You're gonna beat me? At golf? Oh, you're on.
Now Happy's in trouble because his putting is still a mess. He crawls back to Chubbs, begging for guidance. Like Yoda and Luke in the swamps of Dagobah, Chubbs takes Happy to Happy Land Mini Golf. There he teaches Happy the Zen art of going to one's happy place. That's the most times I've ever said happy in that short a span of time. Happy's happy place is a green meadow where a lingerie-clad Virginia waits with pitchers of beer, Granny wins endlessly on a slot machine, and a small person in a cowboy outfit gallops around on a wooden horse because little people are funny. Armed with this new technique, Happy can now putt. Overcome with gratitude, Happy presents Chubbs with a gift, the severed head of the gator what got his hand. This does not go as planned. Chubbs recoils backwards out a window and falls to his death.
Now, as you know, I've never seen this before, so I did not see that coming at all. It's like, what, they killed them all? Really?
Yep.
Is that like supposed to be like a Rocky reference? Is that why that happens?
No, it's more of a Peter Pan Hook reference, if you think about it.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen Hook, the Robin Williams Hook.
I have not.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a reference to that.
Okay. I've never seen, so I don't know. But I just like, first of all, the severed head, like, what the? What you give? What am I supposed to do with that?
Mount it. I mean, on the wall. Don't hump
yes,
it.
I can.
I mean, I could see Happy doing that, but
I want the severed head of the thing that bit my hand off. And he's like, right out the window. Oh my God, this film is insane.
At the tournament finals, Happy and Shooter have a "no, I'm playing for Chubbs" moment. And I'll just let the announcer set up the next scenes for me.
The golfers of the Tour Championship are ready to hit the links. There may be 63 professionals vying for the title of world's best, but in the minds of the spectators, there are really only two. Tour kingpin Shooter McGavin and bad boy Happy Gilmore, fresh off his recent suspension. And wouldn't you know it, they've been paired together.
That sure makes it convenient from a filmmaking perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sirree.
At the first green, wouldn't you know it, Happy learned how to putt. And remember that jeering fan from earlier? He was working for Shooter, and he's the kind of fan who will do anything for the one they are a fan of. Shooter has the jeering fan drive a VW Beetle onto the course and run Happy down, sending him sprawling and temporarily ruining his long drive ability. The fan crashes into a broadcast tower because it needs to fall down a couple of scenes from now.
That is so insane. First of all, yeah, the car comes up on the golf course. And there's like, after that, there's no police report. No one has to explain what happened. Nobody gets arrested. Nothing. The man was just, someone tried to murder him. This is a vehicular homicide. He could have been killed. I mean, this is way worse than Tanya Harding with the... Let me tell you.
Yeah, that was just a tire iron. This was a whole car with 4 tires on it.
Goddamn right.
So all of that, and Shooter taunting him about his grandmother's house, grant Shooter the ability to psychically invade Happy's happy place where Shooter makes out with both Virginia and Happy's grandmother. This throws Happy way off his game. With only 10 minutes left in the movie, Happy needs a miracle. Or a rather mundane but emotionally healing moment where Virginia brings Grandma, who tells him to forget about the house because she just wants Happy to be happy. Renewed, Happy makes it to the 18th hole, a stroke behind Shooter. After Shooter sinks his putt, the tower, damaged earlier in the car attack, comes crashing down between Happy's ball and the hole. After a moment, Happy uses the force and his mini-golf experience to use the car, some signage, and the tower itself to channel his ball into the hole, winning him the tournament. When he's presented with the golden jacket, Shooter runs by and grabs it, then gets chased by a crowd, including Mr. Larson, who presumably puts him in traction. And despite the bet being merely a handshake agreement and Kit's doubts about Shooter actually honoring that agreement...
Not just Kit.
Yeah, and Joe's... And mine, Happy, Grandma, Virginia, and Otto the caddy arrive at Grandma's house, being watched over by the ghosts of Chubbs, the alligator, and Abraham Lincoln. The end. So, Joe, does this still work?
Yes, I love this movie. I thought it was so funny. I could not stop laughing. It's dumb as shit. Don't get me wrong. It's a stupid fucking movie. But I laughed. I laughed hard. Which surprised me because I've never seen an Adam Sandler comedy. I've just seen his dramas mostly.
Yeah, because I watched all of his comedies, and apparently that you sensed that and therefore didn't watch him.
So I've never seen his picture. I knew very little about it. I knew more about the one where the guy says like, "Oh, that's a dumb answer and that's the dumbest thing I ever heard." Blah blah blah. I've seen that clip 1,000 times. So there's very few jokes in there I've ever seen. So I found the whole movie very, very funny. I enjoyed it. I think it works very well. I think it's great.
Yeah, and I'm going to sign on to that. Like, I've seen it a couple dozen times, and, you know, I've got some issues with the relationships in it, but...
Oh, yeah, that's bullshit.
I have those in almost every movie, and this is a comedy, so it's supposed to be absurd. And it is. So, it fits. Yeah, it still works. It's actually, like, it's not problematic in a lot of ways. where you expect comedies to be.
Yeah, there are places he could have gone that thankfully he did not go. So yeah, I thought, yeah, other than obviously the relationship with the woman, that's just bullshit. That's just ridiculous. And other than, I don't like that Dillard gets no comeuppance, which is just weird to me. Other than that, I found this to be a very enjoyable movie. I did what you're supposed to do in a comedy, laugh. It wanted me to laugh and I laughed.
Mm-hmm.
What more could you ask for it?
Yeah. So, still works. Awesome.
Still works. Hey, George, what's up next?
Next week, we will be talking about Heathers from 1988 for a special tacular that we'll introduce when we actually do it.
I saw Heathers. I remember enjoying it very much. I'll be interested to see if it still works.
I have not seen it.
Okay, so it'll be a surprise for you and a revisit for me. So I guess that's it for this episode. I'm Joe Dixon. Thanks for listening.
And I'm George Romacka. Thanks for listening indeed, because if a podcast drops and there's no one around to hear it, it's just another collection of ones and zeros that doesn't matter.
Oh, you're on. You're in big trouble, though, pal. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No.
You've been listening to Does This Still Work? Produced by Joe Dixon and George Romacka. The hosts can be reached via social media, email, or the contact page at dtswpod.com. Be good to yourself and others, because that still works.
This was written by Tim Herlihy.
You have no idea how to pronounce his last name, do you?
Herlihy. Tim Herlihy.
Herlihy. George, if rather than acne, you had tiny animal heads growing out of your face, what would those animals be?
So, what is your favorite line from any movie?
Wow.
And you can give more than one if you have more than one.
George, you have a bra and panties that can make you travel through time.
All right, Joe. What cartoon character do you relate to the most and why? So, Joe, did you ever get in trouble at school as a teenager? And if so, what for?